Blog Talk Radio.
We are controlling transmission. If we wish to make it louder, we will bring up the volume. If we wish to make it softer, we will tune it to a whisper. Sit quietly and we will control all that you hear. We repeat, there is nothing wrong. You are about to participate in a great adventure.
We interrupt this program with a special bulletin. America is now under martial law. All constitutional rights have been suspended. Stay in your home. Do not attempt to contact loved ones, insurance agents, or attorneys. Shut up. Do not attempt to think or depression may occur. Stay in your home. Curfew is at 7 p.m. sharp after work. Anyone caught outside the gates of their subdivision sectors after curfew will be shot.
You're listening to Otter Limits right here on the all-new K98 Talk.
All right, folks, welcome back to Otter Limits. I am your host, Steve Long, coming here from Edmond, Oklahoma. Has been a while since I've done a show, just a few weeks. Kind of been out of sorts lately, but I'm back, and hopefully we'll be back to doing the show every week. But anyway, here we are. We're back, and we've got some special stuff lined up. We've got a guest coming on later in the show. A guy that is running for House District number 61 here in Oklahoma. So we're going to have him on a little bit later and talk to him. But I guess we will go ahead and jump right into things. So let me get my news stories put together here. All right. So remember back when I was talking about his plan, told the American people they could get their plan liked it, and told us our premiums would decrease. Where is that Obama? The Obama we have in office now a completely different person, or is he just simply either a liar or an incompetent leader who was just playing the salesman? The National Center for Public Policy Research has recently reported that over 1 million cancellation letters have gone out to insurance customers. So being able to keep our plans, that's number one. The LA Times has reported that insurance rates in California have gone up on average 30%. Oh, that's lie number two. Sounds to me like our moron in chief didn't really think this whole thing through. All America says what you get when you elect somebody that has no leadership ability or executive experience to speak of. Yes, you're just going to have to suck it up and take your medicine. No pun intended. Immigration reform seems to be rearing its head into politics again. Despite the fact that his signature health care plan is a complete and utter failure, Barack Obama has decided to see what he can do to screw up our nation's immigration laws, too. A bill introduced in the House of Representative Garcia from Florida would provide a path to citizenship for immigrants that are already in the country illegally, increase border security, and provide for an overhaul of the immigration system. Although I'm not sure what part of the system they're planning to overhaul, it sounds to me a lot like the Obamacare bill. We need to let them pass it before we find out what's in it. Recently, at a Young Republicans convention, Oklahoma's own Senator Dr. Tom Coburn had some things to say about Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid. He called him a colorful name, and of course the media jumped all over it when it happened. I don't really hear too much about it anyway, but I just find it kind of funny that our own senator here in Oklahoma decided to use that particular phrase for Mr. Harry Reid. Also, something going on. The Virginia governor's race is getting kind of heated. Robert Sarvis is he's listed as a libertarian in the Virginia governor's race, but he isn't nearly as libertarian as you might think he is. Most of us libertarians, we favor low taxes. Specifically, but not Sarvis. He supports not only an increase in gasoline tax, but also supports a new mile-driven tax. This is a type of tax where the state puts a tracking device on your vehicle, so you have to pay for it, and monitors how often you're driving, and then bills you. So not only that, but Sarvis has also been reported that he favors the expansion of Medicaid in Virginia. So, how this guy can call himself a libertarian is beyond me. It sounds like the Libertarian Party there in Virginia needs to be a little bit more selective in the future when they're vetting somebody in political office. That being said, on the other hand, a Republican candidate for governor, Kim Kuchli, is your typical social conservative, neocon type Republican. And one of the things he has, I've been reading that he supports, is his support for sodomy laws. And, he's made some mentions that he wants to protect marriage from the evils and the harms of homosexuality. So, those of you in Virginia, you really have a rough decision to make coming up here. Do you vote for the social conservative Republican, or do you vote for the guy who says he's a libertarian but really isn't? It's a lot to think about. I know I would have a rough time deciding between those two. Kind of getting off the political track here, a couple of entertainment-related bits of news. Opening Band Films Productions has announced it is releasing a documentary about the life of Riot Grrrl founder and former Bikini Kill vocalist Kathleen Hanna. The film is titled Punk Stinger, and it opened November 29th in Los Angeles and New York, and I'm sure it'll end up in digital formats out on the internet at some point. Punknews.org has reported that Weezer will begin recording a new album starting in January. The report also states that Rick Ocasek will be returning as producer for the album. Rick Ocasek, of course, produced their Blue and Green albums. So really looking forward to seeing what he does with this one. The related release was 2010's Hurley, and that was released by Epitaph Records. SalutePunk.net has announced the release of a video for Justin Timberlake's new song TKO. So you might be wondering, why am I announcing this on the show? Why this news? Point is, it's not. What I want to know is why a site called Absolute Punk is announcing the release of a flipping Justin Timberlake video. Who cares? I don't. I would venture to say that, conservatively speaking, 98% of those that listen to punk music and those who go to the AbsolutePunk.net site don't care either. And then I would have to say, for the 2% of that might, please hand your card. Your privileges have been revoked. Oh my gosh, Absolute Punk and Justin Timberlake. Who would have thought? Fairly frequently, It's called politics, ticks with an X, and generally they have these questions they ask. Sometimes it's a quiz, and sometimes it's like a poll. The newest one that has popped up is Can America, and America wrong, that's awesome, can be energy dependent within a generation. I haven't voted on it yet, or put my 2 cents worth in there, but it does appear that 67% of those polled seem to think that we can. One of the comments says we could be independent today if our government would get serious, standing in the way of progress, allowing fish to stop hydroelectric projects, locking away, this guy can spell, locking away our oil and gas reserves, and fighting technology that makes its extraction more efficient, regulating refineries out of existence, promising to regulate the coal industry to death, block pipelines, moving offshore drilling into deeper and deeper water, making it safe and more expensive, putting restrictions upon private wind and solar, and over-regulating it to a halt before it even gets started on public lands. Are still beholden to foreign powers for our energy. Well, that does make a lot of sense. What do you think? You think we can be energy independent within a generation? A generation. I don't know. I guess we could. I mean, in any case, I just thought it was an interesting question that they had asked. But it's a fairly interesting site to check out. It's pretty nonpartisan. There's a lot of different opinions on there. But there you have it. Politics, Politiix. One other thing I want to mention is how things are going with the Outer Limits OKC Rock Battle Royale. Anybody tuning in first time, for the past few months, I guess it's been, really don't remember when this started, to tell you the truth, there's been a poll going on the website, and here it is. It's been going on since May. Kind of a poll of I picked two bands from rock bands from the Oklahoma metro area, Oklahoma City metro area, and kind of put them against each other, put it up as a poll. They do out for a week, people vote for them, and it kind of goes into kind of like a round robin final for March Madness kind of thing, like they do in basketball, like a bracket system. Excuse me. So we are at week 25 in this poll, which is actually the beginning of, I want to say, bracket 3. Let me check the site here real quick. I'm pretty sure that it's bracket 3. Yes, bracket 3. So this week is the Easy Lovers versus Captain Eyeball. So if you go to the site, it's otterlimits.us. It's otterlimits.us. In the upper right-hand corner of that site, you will see the poll, and you will have a chance to vote there. If you don't know anything about either one of these bands, just search for Otter Limits OKC Battle Royale Week 25. Should pull up the article or the post itself. It has links to both bands, so you can click on the link, and it takes you to where you can listen to the music. So definitely take some time to check that out. It's posted on October 28th, if that helps you, Jenny. So that'll be over 20, of course. So if you want to get your vote in for either one of these guys, then you're going to do it pretty quickly. Of course, in sports news, the big thing this week was that the Red Sox beat the St. Louis Cardinals to win the World Series. A lot of Louis Cardinals fans around here in Oklahoma for some reason. I don't know what it is, but I'm actually a Red Sox fan, so they're kind of my number 2 team after the Seattle Mariners. Of course, as a Seattle Mariners fan, that season is usually over by March? No, probably their season's fully over by the summer. So, gotta have a backup, of course. But that was pretty good to see the Boston Red Sox won, and they actually won on their home turf, so that was kind of cool. I think something else was going on in sports, but probably not. That's probably it. I know that the Seahawks were playing today, and that game is now over. They won in overtime, 27-24. It was a pretty darn close game. I remember tuning in on at the third quarter, and Buccaneers were actually winning. I don't know what the heck's going on with the Seahawks, but to allow the Buccaneers to get that close to beating you. Excuse me. Well, all right, that's it for news. So I'm gonna blast through here, and we've got another segment that we do every week. Let me get that one ready.
Once upon a time in America.
Yeah, it's time for Once Upon a Time in America. For those of you tuning in for the first time, this is a segment where I talk about some things that happened in American history this week. So let's start off with today, November 3rd. In 1913, some really bad news. The United States introduced the income tax. Boo! November 4th, 1861, the University of Washington opens in Seattle. It's originally called Territorial University. 1952, on November 4th, the National Security Agency is established. The NSA, of course, has been under a lot of fire lately for its domestic wiretapping. In case you didn't know, the NSA has been involved in monitoring phone communications pretty much since its inception. Specifically, it came under attack for its operations during the Lyndon Johnson administration for tapping the phones of U.S. Senators Frank Church and Howard Baker. So, yeah, NSA tapping your phones, nothing new, folks. 2008, on November 4th, some more bad news. Barack Obama is elected President of the United States, making him the first African-American elected to the position, and beginning the most disastrous presidential administration in our lifetime. November 5th, 1895, the first U.S. patent is issued for an automobile to George Selden. In 1912, yet more bad news, in my opinion, Woodrow Wilson is elected President of the United States. Another one of this nation's worst presidents. November 6th, 1861, Jefferson Davis is elected President of the Confederate States of America. He is, of course, the only person that was ever elected to that post. November 7th, 1944, Franklin D. Roosevelt is elected President of the United States for a fourth term. 1967, on November 7th, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting is established when President Lyndon Johnson signs the Public Broadcasting Act. The Corporation for Public Broadcasting, in turn, created the Public Broadcasting Service, or PBS, and National Public Radio, or NPR. The corporation's purpose was to, with its funding, help local stations and increase public interest in broadcasting. Speaking of broadcasting, in 1994, on November 7th, the world's first internet radio broadcast is provided by WXYZ. No, wait a minute. WXYC, the student radio station of the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. November 8th, 1889, Montana becomes the 41st state. And in 1960, on November 8th, John F. Kennedy is elected President of the United States. And finally, on November 9th, in 1967, the first issue of Rolling Stone magazine is published. You may not consider that much as far as American history, but there you go. All right, so I think it is about time to take our first break. I am going to be playing a song by a local band called Red City Radio. They recently released a new album called Titles. If you've been to the Otter Limits website, you will see I did write a review of it. Let me just pull it up and read it to you. Album review for Titles. Better melodies, better harmonies, better hooks, all around better songwriting. This is what you will get from Oklahoma punk band Red City Radio's sophomore full-length effort, Titles. Red City Radio returns with their hot water music-influenced brand of rock and roll for the working class. This band obviously has a lot to say on this album. They even try their hand at writing a love song with the song Joy Comes with the Morning, which they pull off in just the way you would expect those guys to do it. For those unfamiliar with the band, they formed in 2007 in Oklahoma and debuted with the EP To the Sons and Daughters of Woody Guthrie. 2011 saw the release of the first full-length album, The Dangers of Standing Still. Red City Radio is quite possibly the best rock band to ever come out of Oklahoma, and Titles has either proven or solidified that fact. Highlights on the album include the aforementioned Joy Comes with the Morning, as well as the opening track, 2 notes shy of an octave, Show Me on the Doll Where the Music Touched You, I'll Take a Mile, and A Joke with No Words. But the whole album is well worth putting your CD or MP3 player on infinite repeat. Garrett and Paul and the boys have truly outdone themselves. Well done, guys. Well done. That album, Titles, was released Tuesday, October 15th on Paper and Plastic Records. So with the break, I will be playing the opening track from that album, 2 notes shy of an octave. So here we go. We're going on break, and we'll just be back in a few minutes. Thanks for tuning in to Otter Limits Radio tonight with me, folks.
Where do you start? folks, some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Double R, the founder here at Common Ground Media Group, and we have two different channels running. We have Common Ground Media Group Oklahoma over on Blog Talk Radio, and we have Common Ground Radio Oklahoma on Spreaker. Now, Common Ground Radio Oklahoma is a startup. We've been on BTR now since February, but we've decided we want some more airtime and some more flexibility, so for now, mine is one of the only shows that's going to be found over there. I'm going to go ahead and just give you our lineup in order and let you know a few things that are going on behind the scenes. Sundays, over on the BTR channel, we have the Otter Limits, hosted by Steve Long, one of the only libertarian radio hosts that I'm aware of, at least from the amateur angle, and you can catch him every Sunday from 6 to 8 p.m. He does normally have some pretty good live guests on there. Even had a recent gubernatorial candidate on, so if you haven't checked that one out, you may want to go back and hit up our archive shows available on the Blog Talk channel and get caught up. And then we have Monday, my show, which is located over on Spreaker, America Off the Rails. That is, of course, hosted by yours truly. That's basically my conservative show where I rant and complain and vent, and it helps with my sanity, and I hope you guys like it too. And if not, I'm going to still keep doing it anyway, because like I said, it does help with my sanity. And then we have the show on Tuesday, which is Finding Common Ground. That is featuring myself and Dave, and that is again located over on the Blog Talk channel. That typically starts between 8 and 8:30, and it's basically where a cranky conservative, yours truly, and a hacked-off Jeffersonian liberal, my buddy Dave, get together and try to talk about current events and see about setting some differences aside to see if maybe we can find a way to fix this crazy mess we all find ourselves in right now. Then we have Wednesday, The Family Factor, hosted by Denny C. That is 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., again over on the Blog Talk channel. Now, Denny does have some things in the works that he's going to be bringing over to the Spreaker channel, different formats than The Family Factor. We're still ironing some of that stuff out. Then on Thursday, we have On the Fringes. That is Dave's music show, where basically he plays alternative music, alternate country, indie, pop, all that fun stuff. It's a really great show. Different kind of audience than most of the ones that we bring in, so it's nice to have a little bit of variety. Speaking of variety, we'll get to that in a minute. On Friday, we have the Red Shirt Friday show featuring the Common Ground crew. Normally that's me and Dave and maybe some of the other admins hanging out, just having a little bit of fun from our Common Ground political page over on Facebook. Try to get a few of them involved here and there when we can, at least on Fridays. And then on Saturday, we have a new show hitting the lineup that's all about wrestling. You guys will find more out about that. The first airing will be tomorrow at the time that I record this first commercial for the network that I've done in a while. And that pretty much concludes our lineup for now. Thanks to everybody who's been tuning in and checking us out. We hope you like us over on BTR, and we hope to make lots of new friends over on Spreaker. As we bring more shows in, of course, I will let you know.
Beyond this illusion, I was soaring ever higher, but I flew too high. It's the Auto Limit Show every Sunday at 6 p.m. with the host, Steve Long. That's my dad. Right here on Blog Talk Radio, so tune in. Woohoo!
All right, folks, thanks for tuning back into Outer Limits Radio. I am your host, Steve Long, coming here from Edmond, Oklahoma. That commercial I just played, I think, is a little bit out of date because there's some other things that have been going on. We'll probably be putting another commercial together. This show can be streamed after the fact on a new thing that is being put together. It's K98talk.com. So from what I understand, the format is that something is going to be playing on that channel 24/7. So so yeah, you'll be hearing this episode as well as all the archived shows as well over there at K98talk.com. When I get more information about that, I will be sure to let you know. I'm not 100% on my knowledge of what's going on over there, but anyway. So, I got a question here. 38% of voters in the United States identify themselves as independents. So why do you think that is? The Democrats and Republicans have been controlling things for so long. It makes you wonder, if there's how strong an independent movement there really is. Well, I was reading an article on CNN's website recently, and it's actually a kind of an older article. It's from November of last year, and it did shed some light on why some people are independent. The article was called Neither Republican or Democrat, and if you want to look for it, it's somewhere on CNN.com from November 2012. Just do a search for the title, I guess. But it gives this indication that some folks just don't want to be labeled. For instance, a Jennifer Cummings from Frankfort, Kentucky, considers herself a moderate independent. She says, if you say you're a Democrat, it must mean you're a left-wing liberal with no personal responsibility. If you say you're a Republican, you must be a right-wing millionaire who doesn't care about others. Some folks think that being politically independent is what our country was founded on, like Betty Fowler Pearson, an independent from Las Vegas, says, I'm an independent voter because I believe in the spirit of America and how and why it was founded. Here's a few other quotes from that article that I went and saw. Bretton Holmes from Phoenix, Arizona, says being independent has nothing to do with being undecided. I guess there's main mentality of folks is that if you're an independent, you just can't make up your mind. That's not necessarily the case. Roger Cantillo from New York says Washington is broken and it's got to be changed from the inside out. So I'm guessing he's thinking he's got to be changed. The partisan politics needs to be changed from the inside out. It seems that people just feel like they don't belong in either of the parties, and that sentiment seems to be growing. The Republican Party has been hijacked by the religious right and other social conservatives. Take Oklahoma, for instance. Look at who won the Republican primary in the state last year. It was Rick Santorum. This guy screams social conservative and religious fanatic. But this is the direction the GOP in Oklahoma really goes. I mean, their own governor, the GOP governor, Mary Fallin, recently refused to allow veteran benefits to gay couples. Now, on the other hand, the Democratic Party seems to have been hijacked by extreme leftists and other statists. But really, neither party, especially here in Oklahoma, seems interested in letting others on the playing field. That is, they don't have any interest in allowing third parties to be on the ballot, even though there's been widespread interest from the public for that. I've said this before, but the only interest that the Republican and Democratic parties have, quite frankly, is to perpetuate the power that they hold over politics and to serve their own special interest. Knowing this, what do you do? Do you stick with the party that you already belong to and try to change things from within, or do you, take yourself down to the county election board and re-register as an independent? The downside in a state like Oklahoma to becoming an independent is that you can't participate in party primaries. Then again, when you look at the results of the Oklahoma or the Republican presidential primaries in Oklahoma in 2012, that's probably not the worst thing you can think of to do. So the question I pose is this. Can a political activist really change things from within one of the two parties while the leadership of the party continues to urge them to vote for quote-unquote their picks? Or are the said political activists, are they better off just placing principle above party and leaving partisan politics completely? It's something to think about. Independence. Well, we'll definitely talk more about this in the future. I'm planning on doing a show about ballot access reform, specifically here in Oklahoma, but I'll probably talk about other areas of the country as well. But it's definitely something that there's a growing concern for. This country is it's in a big mess. It's to use the overused cliches, country's going to hell in a handbasket. It's just a mess. But here's the thing, though. With Democrats blaming Republicans for half of everything under the sun, and Republicans blaming Democrats for the other half, there is one thing that is certain in today's American political climate. There is somebody to blame. Congress can be blamed for supporting and passing bad bills and doing nothing to fix the real problems of the country. The president can be blamed for his failed leadership and lack of leadership ability for that matter. However, when you get right down to it, the person or people responsible for the mess in this country is you. You are the ones that elected Barack Obama, a man with absolutely no executive or leadership experience to speak of, into the highest office of government in our country. You are the ones that elected the people that are supposed to represent us in Congress, despite their approval ratings sinking lower and lower every year. You blame Congress and the president for placating to the special interest, yet you reelect these people. You blame Congress and the president for putting their own jobs and the needs of their political parties ahead of the good of the country, but continue to perpetuate the failed two-party system. You have chosen to reelect disappointing incumbents that have failed to do their jobs year after year, or you have chosen to do nothing and not vote at all. You are part of a growing public that is ignorant of the political process and of government in general, and believe that their votes are unlikely to change the outcome of an election, and don't see the point in becoming informed. Ultimately, it is your responsibility for the complete mess that this country is in. Now, if that made you mad, that was the point. If I wasn't speaking specifically to you, for those of you that did not elect Barack Obama, etc., then that wasn't directed to you. This was directed to those people who have forced this situation on the rest of us. And like I said, this type of stuff makes you mad, then that was the whole point. Anyway, I'm going to take another break, and when we come back, we are going to have a guest come on with us, a gentleman running for Oklahoma's state legislature, House District 61. His name is Kenny Bob Tapp, and he will be with us right after the break, so stick around and we'll get to know Kenny. So we'll be back in a few minutes. Oh yeah, before I go off to break here, I am going to be playing another song. This is from another local band here in the Oklahoma City area. The name of the band is They Play Wolf, and the name of the song is Cross the Line. So enjoy, and I'll be back in a few minutes.
When you listen to this gentleman, you too will be saying, "Oh my." It's the Outer Limits on Blog Talk Radio with your host, Steve Long.
All right, folks, thanks for tuning back in to the Outer Limits. Again, that song that I just played was Cross the Line by They Play Wolf, a little band here from the Oklahoma City area. So moving on with the show, I do have a guest coming on here in just a second. He's running for Oklahoma's House District number 61, and his name is Kenny Bob Tapp. Kenny, you there?
Yes, sir, Steve.
Great. Welcome to the show. How are you doing tonight?
Oh, doing great. Thank you for having me on tonight.
Oh, great. Thanks for coming on. Before we get started with any type of political questions, how about you take a couple minutes and tell my listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Oh, my name's Kenny Bob Tapp. I'm a candidate. I'm running for the Republican nomination for House District 61. It's a term-limited seat. Representative Blackwell's our current representative. Term limits out in 2014. But at a young age, I got interested in history. I was home educated, and probably the first time that I actually got interested in politics was during the Clinton impeachments. So kind of got my first taste of that. I was watching that with my folks, and then I would come in after work during the day, and Rush Limbaugh would be on the show, so you'd have your fill of that, of course. But no, that was probably the main subject I was interested in was history, and just observing what our founders went through to set up and form our republic that we live in now. And so I guess starting in 2004, I was in high school, and I knocked doors for the first candidate that I was ever involved with, Senator Tom Coburn, and went on for a few years and kind of lost interest for a short while, and then a gentleman by the name of Dr. Ron Paul ran for president in 2007, 2008, and got involved with his campaign and became county leader out here in Cimarron County where I'm at. And from then on, I've been involved with the grassroots, different efforts, initiatives, and other candidates. Had the opportunity in 2010 to be a part of Senator Randy Brogdon's campaign for governor out here in the Panhandle area.
That's great.
And so, yes, sir.
Great. So, so what made you decide to run for Oklahoma State Legislature?
Well, as we all know, we definitely have an encroachment, well, not only from the federal level, but there's encroachments to our freedoms also from the state level. And I'd attended the National Convention last year in Tampa as a delegate, and it just kind of gave me a glimpse of what we're dealing with at the national level in Washington, D.C., and I felt like we don't have much of a voice on the federal level right now, and I figured I think we still have a shot, and I think it's prime for candidates to get involved on the local level, county level, state level, and run for office, and I thought, and I'd prayed and visited with my family for a while and thought, well, we'll give it a shot, and I believe with all my heart that's where this battle's going to be won, is on the local and state level, so.
That's a good start. Do you know of any other Republicans that have announced they're running for that district?
Yes, sir. I had one announced probably about month and a half ago, and the other one a few weeks ago. So there's 3 of us now.
Okay. So anything you could say that kind of sets you apart from them?
Well, I would say my involvement with the grassroots, and I forgot to mention I was a chairman here in Cimarron County and had an opportunity to travel downstate and attend the meetings and get involved with the party process and reach out not only to Republicans but also reach out to Democrats and independents, just trying to encourage folks to join us. And I've been involved with that, some private property right efforts out here and some other initiatives. So I've been involved in the grassroots out here for 5-6 years solid now. So and also have a ranching background. I'm a 4th generation rancher. Had the opportunity to have my folks manage our family operation out here, and since the age of 14 I've been involved with various jobs, and I just see the regulations, and we have this idea one size fits all is going to do it, and that's just not the case. And so I definitely have that working experience and that background as well. So
that's good. So what would you say is the one most important issue in Oklahoma politics that needs to be addressed? And if you're elected, how do you plan to address that issue?
Oh, that's a good question. There's several questions right now. I'll just have to pick one out of the air.
Well, you can pick 2 or 3 if you want.
Okay. Well, right now we're seems to be a big deal. We're dealing with intrusion of Obamacare, or the Affordable Care Act, and we've been fortunate so far to fight off the exchanges that they've been trying to shove down our throat. I think we see that pop up. Seems like every legislation session for the last couple of years now. And that's one issue that I will be committed to fighting, and until we're definitely done with that, I don't have to worry about it here in Oklahoma, and just keep our medical and insurance private in the state of Oklahoma. That's one. And one issue that's really big and near and dear to my heart is personhood of unborn children, life from conception. I was involved with an initiative petition effort a couple years ago, I believe back in 2011. And we had hundreds of individuals from all over the state gathering signatures to get, and the language basically said that life begins at conception and should be recognized under the state constitution and protected by the law, and which person, we already protect a person under our state constitution. If you're an individual, your rights are protected, but this language that we had worked on would have gone further and would have defined person as an unborn child from the moment of conception to natural death. And that's one issue that I will be working on until we are able to protect the unalienable rights given by us from our Creator, that unborn children would be able to enjoy that right as well. So, yes, sir.
Okay. What are your thoughts on the state of education in Oklahoma? And if you were elected, what ideas do you have to reform it?
Well, right now I've been visiting with a few educators and trying to pick up ideas, and I'm continuing to visit on this. But just recently we've had Common Core come up. Well, actually, we've been dealing with, I think, since 2009, but that's been brought to many folks' attention recently. And I've been attending various events and parades throughout District 61, and not yet once have I ran into an individual that says, "Oh yeah, we need to implement these Common Core standards. It's awesome." I've not had one individual. I've had people stop me and say, "I have a question. Where do you stand on Common Core?" And I've tell them I'm opposed to it. And everyone so far has been relieved to hear that. Probably the closest that I've found an individual coming to support Common Core, this was a high school principal, and he'd tell me, well, I'm on the fence on this issue. But, yeah, they're trying to federalize our education right now, and I think using Common Core as a tool to do that, to implement these standards that the National Board of Governors have helped set up in the Obama administration. Will be enticing states through federal funding to accept that. And unfortunately, right now, I believe that's law in Oklahoma. And if that's not repealed, and hopefully they're able to repeal that next year. But if not, I'll be joining, if elected, several legislatures in the Senate and the House to stop that. But yeah, there's definitely an effort live and well right now to federalize our health care. We've got to fight to keep that localized. And we do, right now, under the state of Oklahoma, in our Constitution, we do have an obligation to that. But I would do everything in my effort to fight that we keep local control through our parents and teachers, because they're the ones that are with our children every day, and see what they go through. And I don't think we should leave those decisions up to even bureaucrats or even on the federal level. So yeah,
definitely, I agree with you there. One other issue that seems to pop up every election cycle, and in between, really. Do you have any thoughts on Oklahoma's ballot access laws? Do you think they should be less restrictive and give voters more choice?
Oh, absolutely. We've unfortunately we don't have the freedom of speech that we should have here in the state of Oklahoma. And I think Charles Key and Senator Randy Brogdon, when they both were serving in the House and Senate, they'd worked on some legislation to give us more access through the ballot, and unfortunately that didn't work out. So yeah, I would definitely be open to working with other legislators to give everyone the speech we definitely deserve here. Yes, sir.
Give them more choices. Okay.
Yes, more choice. Yes, sir.
There appears to be, both in the national and the state GOP, a growing divide between, the libertarian faction of the party and the, we can just call it the establishment faction. Where would you see you kind of fall into that spectrum, if at all?
Oh, where would I fall into the spectrum?
Yeah, you've got on one end of the spectrum, you've got the libertarian faction of the GOP, and on the other side of the spectrum, you'd have what I just call the establishment faction.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a good question. I had a individual ask me that a while back, and I mean, I really don't see myself as definitely not as what we know of as conservative Republicans on the national level today, like John Boehner and the John McCain's, definitely not. and I'm
Well, then
not
on the other
real
side,
big on labels,
but
I consider myself a constitutional conservative, an old school conservative, conservatism of Ronald Reagan, of Bob Tapp, the old school conservatives, yes, sir.
Okay. So you'd say you'd probably be closer to maybe a Rand Paul than a John McCain.
No, I definitely agree with Rand on many issues, yes, sir. So.
I was looking at your website the other day, and somewhere on it I saw, I guess it was a slogan that said Kenny Bob Tapp for life and for liberty. The term liberty seems, at least to me lately, like it has been kind of overused and abused by certain political candidates in the GOP to kind of try and appeal to a certain base of voters that they might not otherwise be able to appeal to. Have you noticed this as well?
I have, and well, the word liberty has been watered down, and pretty much every candidate you look at, several of them use it nowadays, and so it's definitely incumbent upon us as voters to, let them give their lip speech or whatever, but it's incumbent upon us to do our research and search out the issues and the positions that those candidates or elected officials have or have taken in the past, and to evaluate that and shine the light on them ourselves. So yes, sir, that word unfortunately has been watered down the last several years.
It has, and it's been used and abused by a lot of candidates that really have no interest in liberty at all. It's just kind of almost like a catchphrase now. But it makes me wonder how far people, candidates, politicians are willing to go to actually defend people's civil liberties. For instance, lately there's been some talk on various social media platforms in regards to, for instance, wanting to have in Oklahoma the ban on same-sex marriage repealed. Would you be would you say that banning same-sex marriage, as an example, would you consider that a violation of civil liberties of a certain group of people?
Well, as a Bible believer or a believer in the Scriptures, I believe that God has defined marriage as between a man and a woman. That was defined in Genesis. But we kind of got on the slippery slope around the turn of the century. The early 1900s, late 1800s, where the state came in. Before then, a couple could go to their pastor, and the pastor would marry them before God and witnesses. And so the states around the turn of the century came up with this new idea of licensing, offering marriage licenses, and so that got the government involved in the marriage business, and I don't believe that was ever intended by God. So, and so we just, I think we've kind of opened a can of worms with that. Yes, sir.
Okay. Another issue that's been kind of prominent lately in the, shall we say, the liberty movement. There's a lot of states out there that have started to either legalize or decriminalize marijuana. here in Oklahoma, there's a certain state senator that has actually submitted legislation. I believe it's like 8 times, an attempt to legalize it for medicinal purposes. But of course, that's met with some pretty strong resistance. Do you have any opinions on that issue, or any opinions on the American drug war in general?
Well, the federal government, I believe, the Constitution, the U.S. Constitution, is written simple. Was written by farmers, those in agriculture, just everyday people, and it's not that hard to comprehend it. And so, the federal government has no responsibility to get involved on starting a drug or banning the use of marijuana. But on the state level, really we've got a lot of issues to focus on that are definitely threatening our liberties here, and so that would not be on my agenda.
Okay, so I guess the question would be if it were to come up to a vote, not that it in the next 5 years it will, because there's still so much resistance against it. How would you vote on an issue like that? And we're talking about legalizing for at this point, legalizing for medicinal purposes only.
Mm-hmm. No, I would definitely have to look at it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had I guess there was a rally yesterday at the Capitol in regards to this. I haven't read a whole lot about it, but
right.
I'm sure I will probably be writing about it here in the future. So here's just kind of a bit of a fun question, kind of getting off of the political track here. What is your favorite movie, favorite music artist, favorite book, and favorite TV show?
Oh man, that's a hard one. No, I would have to say
hard questions.
I would have to say my favorite movie would be Mel Gibson's The Patriot, and favorite book, the one that I try to read every day is the Scriptures or the Bible. And it was one of the questions on music.
Yeah, music artist, either like a band or a soloist.
Okay, I would have to go with Randy Travis.
Yeah.
Pretty much country.
Yeah. Well, that's the where you're from.
And we definitely. Yeah. And my sister was sitting by me. We definitely have an excellent band out here in the Panhandle 12 gauge. So if anyone's listening is ever in the Panhandle area, got to check them out. So.
Okay. What about favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show? One that they never finished the series on, I'd seen that a couple years ago, was Jericho. I would definitely recommend.
Oh man, that's a great show. I love that show. Interesting that you bring that up. That's actually one of my favorite TV shows.
Wow.
After the very short second season that they had, they actually started continuing the story in comic book format. And being a big comic book geek that I am already, and then also being a big fan of Jericho, I of course started reading those. So they were pretty interesting. But yeah, that's a really good show. Yeah. It's interesting, if you take that show and look at it from an almost political, historical perspective, it's something that could really happen in this country, sadly enough. Some faction of the government decides to take over, and this is the best way they can think of to do it, and it's kind of scary. But anyway, that's all the questions that I had for you. Did you have anything else that you wanted to talk about? Anything that you wanted to, parting thoughts, I guess you could say?
Well, I definitely would like to thank you for having me on tonight, Steve. It was great coming on your show and discussing the issues and questions for sure. But I would definitely encourage those other who may be in District 61 or who might be interested in our message or what we've had to say tonight. Check our website out. It's kennybobtapp.wordpress.com, or check us out on Facebook. We've got a group up there as well. And if anyone would be interested in more information or might by chance like to help in the campaign, just feel free to contact us. Love to have y'all. So.
All right. Well, Kenny, thanks for coming on, and good luck in the primaries coming up this spring.
Yes, sir. I greatly appreciate that, and when it comes, and I'd like to remind everybody, when it comes to government, less is more. So.
That is right.
Yes, sir.
Limited government.
Absolutely. Well, thanks again, Steve, and you all have a great one.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
So that was Kenny Bob Tapp, running for House District 61 here in Oklahoma. So we wish him the best of luck. I haven't heard of any of his opponents, so I'll probably be looking that up at some point in time. But there isn't really a whole lot more going on with the show here. I wanted to kind of start off slow, first time back, so I'm going to go ahead and call it a night here. But I am gonna close us out with another song. This one is an instrumental. It was written, or it was done by a band I was in back in Seattle called Otisburg, and the name of the song is Forest Rouses. It's never been released, and I actually think that is just a working title. We never really actually came up with a title, mostly because we never really came up with any lyrics. So that's why it's an instrumental. So I'm going to play that to get us out of here, but be sure to check out K98talk.com. Check out our other shows. I'm not sure what the actual lineup is. I think tomorrow, Mondays, is America Off the Rails over on Spreaker. Tuesday is another Blog Talk radio show, Finding Common Ground. That's with Robert and Dave. Wednesday, I'm not sure what happens. Thursday is Dave's On the Fringes show on Blog Talk Radio. Friday is another Blog Talk Radio, Red Shirt Friday. And then Saturday morning, you have a double show, kind of. The first hour is the Around the Ring, where me and Dave and Mandy talk about wrestling, professional wrestling. And then in the second hour, me and Dave have our little comic talk show, where we talk about comic books, and that's called Comic Talk. And then, of course, next Sunday, I'll be back here with the Outer Limits show. Not sure who the guest will be, but I I'm sure it'll be somebody interesting. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and close us out with the song A Forest of Rouses, and hopefully I'll be hearing from you again next week. Goodbye. This was Otter Limits.